Welcome to episode 11, season 2 of the Subway Conversation Chat. I'm your host, Jamie Malloy, and I'm here to discuss some New York Yankees and New York Mets baseball with my co-host, Joe Dalio. So without any further ado, here's Joe. Hey, Joe, how's it going?
It is going great. I mean, how can you beat that introduction, right? So I'm doing great. How you doing there?
I'm good. Yankees obviously were swept by the Red Sox, so that's a little disappointing. Lost a tough one, 1-0 last night. Now they're losing 3-0. But I mean, the problem is it's just bad hitting. Their pitching isn't doing bad. But like I said, that hitting comes around as long as the pitching keeps doing well.
Yeah, trouble in New York baseball paradise, right? We've both had a lot of great stuff to talk about all season long. And now both of our teams are struggling here as, the Mets are just going through I don't know if it was their first sweep, but going through their first adversity of the season so far. Mm-hmm. So we'll see what comes from that, and we'll be talking about it on tonight's show.
Yes, we will. And so guess what? Tonight, it's time for me to start out with the Yankees injury report. Okay? So first, we're going to start out with right-handed pitcher Marcus Stroman. He left the game he has a left knee inflammation. On June 11th, Stroman pitched 3 1/3 innings in his first rehab start and struck out 4 batters for Double-A Somerset. He bounced back well after his expedition and is expected to be in the lineup as a starter. Anyway, now we have right-handed pitcher Luis Hill with a right lat strain. Manager Aaron Boone stated on June 14th that Hill is about 10 to 14 days from throwing against live hitters. Expected return possibly July or August. So that means once he comes back, all the starting pitchers except Cole this year are all going to be back, which is good.
Excellent. And pitchers like him will be fresh too.
Yep. Sadly, though, the news isn't so well for right-handed pitcher Jake Cousins, the cousin of NFL quarterback Kirk Cousins. He has a right forearm strain, and on June 11th, when Cousins returned from his rehab assignment, Aaron Boone said Cousins seemed to have a UCL injury. The Yankees organization indicated yesterday that the 30-year-old will have Tommy John surgery, expected return 2026. So now let's turn it over to you, Joe, for some Mets news. Joe?
All right. And unfortunately, those injuries starting to pile up for the Mets. We'll talk about that in a second, but just some quick transaction news here. When we spoke last week, Francisco Alvarez was being put to the paternity list. Now, a lot of times guys come back from having kids and they're all fired up and they smack the ball all over the place. Not the case for Alvarez, who has gone 1 for 10 since having the child and going on that list. So batting an even 100. So that baby luck, certainly not the case for him. Hopefully he could turn it around soon. Now in his place, the Mets had brought up catcher Hayden Senger, but he was sent back down to Syracuse once Alvarez came back. This was Thursday, I believe, that he came back. Also, they had sent pitcher Max Kranick down to Syracuse, but he has now returned to the Mets relief corps there. Now, again, as I said, the injury's starting to pile up a little bit. One of the biggest ones here, speaking about pitchers, Kodai Senga, placed on the 15-day IL due to a right hamstring strain, and he could miss about a month of time. And I'll share some of the stats in a little bit, but he is definitely going to be missed. And then this is effective at the 15th is when this happened. Tyler McGill placed also on the 15-day IL due to right elbow strain, and he's out for at least a month. Now, he hadn't been pitching well anyway, so I wonder if this had anything to do with it. I guess time will tell. Hopefully it's not a major injury. Now, some guys hopefully on the way back soon. Relief pitcher Brooks Raley is doing a rehab start in St. Lucie. He went out last year and starting to come back. So tonight, actually, a rehab start in Single A St. Lucie. So we'll see how he can progress. Other players, Mark Vientos had been out for a little bit because of a hamstring. He's doing a rehab start in Syracuse tonight as well. Could perhaps return in about a week or so. So that would definitely be a boost to the Mets lineup. Brett Baty, out of tonight's game at least, he has a groin issue. Don't know exactly what happened with that. Just kind of found that out today. But he's out of tonight's game for sure. He's day-to-day. Hopefully can avoid the injured list. Now, some players that have been gone for a little while longer, Frankie Montas coming back soon. Now, the Mets are talking about starting him in a bullpen role. He's basically a starting pitcher. But just to kind of ease him in, he may end up getting a relief role instead of starting right away. So we'll see what happens with that. Now, again, that might change with McGill going down and with Senga going down. So we'll see. Now, a little bit of a setback. We were talking about Jose Siri, who had the cracked leg from fouling the ball off his leg, was coming back quicker than anticipated. Well, suffered a setback, they're saying, and is not engaging in any baseball activities at the moment. Now they're saying he's another possibly 4 weeks away. So I don't know exactly what went wrong there. Again, maybe coming back too soon, not sure. But I remember he was supposed to be out like 6 to 8 weeks. He was going to come back in like 4 weeks, but now that's going to be pushed back, and it might even go beyond the 6 to 8 weeks. Jesse Winker still multiple of weeks away from playing even any rehab games. We'll keep an eye on that. Sean Manaea pitched a couple innings for the Brooklyn Cyclones. So that is positive news. 2 2/3 innings, no runs, 2 hits, a walk. And again, a rehab start with the Brooklyn Cyclones. This was last Wednesday. So we'll see how he progresses. He's still probably a few weeks away. They're saying early July as far as getting him in the lineup. But again, with a couple of guys now out of that starting rotation, certainly he would be a welcome addition to the Mets lineup. So that's what's going on as far as news and as far as injuries with the Mets. Going to send it back over to you, Jamie.
Well, Joe, thank you very much. We're going to start out with how Aaron Judge's dramatics in the 9th inning was a highlight of losing in 10 innings to the Boston Red Sox at Fenway Park, or as we call it, the dirty water of the Charles River. Anyway, Friday night at Fenway Park was a wicked wild beginning to another edition of the Yankees-Red Sox rivalry. The Yankees were down to their last 2 outs in the 9th inning, and Aaron Judge stepped up to the plate. Having struck out thrice against Garrett Crochet, Judge finally launched one over the Green Monster to tie the game at 1. The mighty Judge was back in court, and the game was a hung jury, 1-1. But the Red Sox ended up handing the Yankees a guilty verdict and banged their gavel as the Sox ended up winning 2-1 in the bottom of the 10th. Meeting over. And we have a quote. What I was thinking and trying to do wasn't working, so you got to make an adjustment, Judge said. That's what this game is. That change gave Judge home run number 26 on the year, blasting onto Lambsden Street, and earned him a share of the Major League with Mariners Cal Raleigh, North Carolina. Meanwhile, Carlos Narvdog Narvaez, who'd ended the night with a walk-off hit, called it probably the best pitcher right now against the best hitter in baseball. Anthony Volpe started out the 10th as an automatic ghost runner, which I really like, that rule, and tried to hustle for third base going in head first. Initially ruled safe, the call was overturned, ruling Volpe out. Replay showed Volpe's hand barely came off the plate. So when questioned, manager Aaron Boone said he was okay with the decision to send Volpe. And we have a quote, "Oh, hell yeah, you're not," Boone said. "You see Anthony steal third, and the only reason he's out is because he kind of gets caught on the slide where it doesn't extend." The Yanks video crew saw it a different way. Boone quoted that a quarter of the ball kissed chalk. By challenging the call, it went to New York City. Funny, the game was at Boston, and it still had to go to New York to get a call.
New York anyway, right?
If it was overturned, the field umps would have been obligated to put LeMahieu at second base with a double. Instead, the call was upheld, meaning no hit, no runner, just continuing, and all that. Aaron, after that, Boone bellowed, threw a wad of gum onto the field, and was tossed. We know Aaron Boone's the king of getting ejected.
Oh, yeah.
I call Carlos Mendoza the prince of that. So, because he learned that from him. Anyway,
right.
Yeah. Anyway, a fair ball down the line that they miss in real time, they don't have the courage to overtune, and we quote Boone snarled. Mm-hmm. Temper tantrums like that seem commonplace for Boone, especially when compared to the quiet LeMahieu. LeMahieu was surprised he was tossed. And we have a quote. I just said, "That's a brutal call," LeMahieu said. And he said, what did you say? And I was like, "That was brutal." And that was it. And as Olivia Rodrigo says in her song, Brugo, "Ego crush is so severe. God, it's brutal out here." Anyway, Judge knew from a mile away, maybe not exactly from the quarter mile in St. Louis, but a mile away, LeMahieu was going to get tossed, but for a good reason, that it was a fair ball. Narvaez ended the night with a walk-off hit facing Tim Hill, the fourth walk-off loss for the Yanks this season. And of course, that song, "But I Love That Dirty Boston, You're My Home," had to play when they won, just like New York plays when the Yankees win there.
Yep.
Anyway, the contest lasted 2 hours and 57 minutes, which is fast for a Yankees-Sox matchup, pitch clock or not. The Judge Crochet matchup was a week-long storyline that lasted all the way back to the Bronx. 1 week ago, the Yankees-Sox played at Yankee Stadium, and Judge also struck out 3 times against Crochet, who has dominated plenty of lineups league-wide this season. The 3 on Friday night that Judge went into his 9th inning at bat with 6 straight strikeouts against the lefty this season. With Crochet dominating, going 8 1/3 strong innings, Sox manager Alex Cora trusted he'd finish the job, but he still had to stop the AL's reigning most valuable player. And we have a quote, "It's tough when you're looking at that scouting report and the whole thing is bright red," Crochet said. Mm-hmm. With a 3-2 count, although I'll tell you what wasn't bright red, though, Joe. Those freaking green uniforms that the Red Sox were wearing Friday, and then the yellow ones on Saturday. That wasn't bright red at all.
Where are their real uniforms? I saw them wearing those. I didn't get to watch any of those games, but I saw the highlights. I mean, they look like, a bunch of bumblebees or something. I don't know. It was like, wear your real uniforms, please.
Right. With a 3-2 count, Crochet threw, I'm going to love this. This is my favorite, a 99.6 mile an hour 4-seam fastball. Oh. Low and in. Judge clobbered it 115.5 miles per hour off the bat, and a StatCast projected 443 feet out of Fenway and off of it towards the logo sign. It was Judge's second career game-tying homer in the 9th inning or later. His last one was May 23rd, 2023, off Baltimore's Felix Bautista. See, Matt, Matt Trigger, I can talk about Baltimore players in here. There you go. That was for you, buddy. Love you, man. You anyway, so Joe, what do you think of the Yankees tying it in the 9th inning, only to lose on a walk-off hit 2-1 by an ex-Yankee and Carlos Narvaez of all people?
Yeah, a little bit of a slap in the face there, but again, give them credit for tying the game up, right? They, instead of they kept fighting and just lost that. But you don't know how many times I've seen that lately in baseball, in hockey, and everything. How many times do we see a team score? Let's say in hockey, I saw this all season. So many times a team pulls the goalie, they score with like 30 seconds left to tie the game that they were losing the whole time, and then they end up losing it anyway. And in baseball, I've seen that this year too. A team, the bullpen blows a 3-run lead in the ninth inning, but then the team comes back and wins anyway. So it's like, what's the use? It seems like, but you can't criticize those teams for coming back and making a game out of it and trying to pull out a victory. And sometimes they do. So you give the Yankees credit for that. It's just, again, they've had some of those tough losses. Like you said, did you say they lead the league in walk-off losses? Or
No, it's just their fourth on the
just
season.
a fourth one? Okay, but still, they're tough. But give them credit for at least getting to that point.
Mm-hmm. Anyway, now moving on to Saturday's game. Did Jason Dominguez cause the Yankees their loss in the second outing against the Sox on Saturday? Jason Dominguez, for the most part, has a successful Rookie of the Year, showcasing both his power hitting and his speed. JR, Beluga Heights. Anyway, but rookies are proud to make, or prone to making mistakes. And we're going to use a quote from Elon Musk here, which is pretty cool. Nobody bats 1,000, since we're talking about baseball, or in this case, steals every bag.
Mm-hmm.
The 22-year-old rookie lost track of the count and was caught stealing third, and the Yankees ended up losing 4-3. We have a quote here. For some reason, I thought I had 2 strikes, Dominguez said. I had nothing to say, no excuses. I made a mistake.
Okay.
Aaron Boone said Dominguez felt terrible about the mental error, adding, it's probably something that won't ever happen to him again. Dominguez's glum expression pretty much snatched the Yankees' weekend as they fell to 1-4 against 1-4 against Boston this season, while dropping their second series against the rivals. So, Joe, what do you think of Dominguez at 22 years old taking accountability for getting caught stealing, even though they had other chances to win and it wasn't entirely his fault, but he still took accountability for the play?
Love it. I think it's for a 22-year-old, a very mature thing to do. And like you said, he'll probably never make that mistake again, right? He's going to learn from it. And I love the fact that he had that attitude, even though, again, as you said, not all his fault. They had plenty of other chances to win and could have. But give him credit. Again, that's a mature, that's a beyond his age move for somebody like that to admit the mistake, take accountability for it. And I believe you. I think it's not a mistake that happens again with him.
Mm-hmm. Anyway, the Yankees were in no position to give outs away, considering rookie right-hander Hunter Dobbins backed up his bluster with 6 scoreless innings. Just days after telling the Boston Herald he'd rather retire than wear pinstripes, Dobbins held New York to 2 hits in an efficient 82-pitch effort. Rob Refsnyder, another ex-Yankee, scored on an unconventional first-inning run against Carlos Rodon when shortstop Anthony Volpe committed a throwing error. Volpe tried the Jeter jump throw in the hole play that made Jeter famous so well at doing that. On a grounder from Carlos Narvaez, but first baseman Paul Goldschmidt blamed himself for not batting it down. And again, this is a veteran guy taking accountability.
Mm-hmm.
You had the rookie doing it and the veteran follows. So he
Mhm.
says, I feel like that one was on me, Goldschmidt said. He should have had the freedom to throw the ball across the diamond like he did. Charged with the loss, Rodon served a purpose, giving up 4 runs, 3 earned while going over 5 innings. He saw Boston's game plan, which was to swing early in the count, as evidently Ref Snyder belted Rodon's first pitch heater for a double. And we have a quote from Rodon. They're a pretty solid team. They could definitely swing it, Rodon said. They had a good approach. It seemed like they had a team approach today. They were a little more aggressive than the last time Sunday at Yankee Stadium. Rodon said next time he tried to be more careful with his location rather than his velocity. And we have a quote from the manager, Aaron Boone. I thought he was actually pretty sharp this time around, referring to Rodon, Boone said.
Mm-hmm.
The Yankees' bats still seem groggy from their early morning arrival on Friday, but signs of life appeared once Dobbins exited. Goldschmidt and Jazz Chisholm Jr. worked walks to open the 7th inning against Luis Guerrero, and after that, Dominguez grounded a slider into center field for an RBI single. Austin Wells followed by greeting Justin Wilson with a run-scoring hit that shot past a diving attempt by shortstop Trevor Toy Story, trimming New York's deficit to 4-2. After a strikeout, Grisham swung through Wilson's 2-1 count fastball. It took a second, maybe 2, for Narvaez to notice Dominguez's body language that the inning was over. Red Sox manager Alex Cora said there was eye contact between Narvaez and Story. Narvaez flew to second base. Dominguez broke for third, and Marcelo Mayer slapped the tag on it. And Dominguez said, like I said, I just made a mistake. And we quote, Dominguez said. Boone said he spoke with Dominguez after the gaffe, instructing him to just be more situationally aware, or as Ross from Friends says, have more unagi.
Yeah.
Anyway, we have a quote here. It is reminding yourself with speaking out loud, talking to each other, making sure you're always paying attention to that, Aaron Boone said. So, Joe, what do you think of Boone and Dominguez having a civil chat about his mishap between player and manager, and it didn't lead to arguing or anything?
No, and it shouldn't lead to argument. And I think Boone is a smart enough manager. Again, you got a 22-year-old kid here. You got a fragile confidence or whatever. He handled it the right way, just like Dominguez did. So I like how Boone handled that. Again, you're doing your job as a manager and doing some teaching and explaining things and hoping that the mistake doesn't happen again and showing them how to prevent it. So again, Boone did his job as a manager there, but he knows how to handle players and he knows who he's dealing with here. And I appreciate the way he handled it. Just again, like I said before, I appreciate how Dominguez handled himself with that situation too.
Mm-hmm. And like I said, it's not like the days were like I said, it's about teaching culture and confidence. It's not about going Earl Weaver on a kid, especially that young,
Yeah, you want to build the kid's confidence, not rip it apart. And again, and I think he did that. He did what he had to do and teach his lesson or whatever. But again, I think he handled it the right way.
Mm-hmm. And finally, we're going to go to Yankees swept by Sox. And the question is, but why? That was the exact same question, the first ever question that came out of this mouth when I was 3 years old. My first question was, but why? It's in my baby book upstairs. Anyway, it's pretty cool. Anyway.
Yeah, lots of 3-year-olds kids ask that question on a regular basis.
Right. Yep. Anyway, Max Fried has time and time again stepped up as a Yankees ace since signing over the offseason. Fried enters Sunday's game with a .83 ERA on the road, and the Yankees were 7-0 with Fried on the mound. Once again, the lefty pitched well, allowing just 2 runs across 7 innings but it wasn't enough as the Bombers were swept for the first time this season. New York was held to 3 runs or fewer for a fourth straight this game for the first time since early 2024. So New York becomes 3 runs, 3 runs. Anyway, the Yankees lost 2-0 and fell to 1-5 against the Red Sox. Fried ran into frequent trouble in his first start with New York against Boston. Once again, Trevor Toy Story. You got a friend in me, really, with this one. Coming in at 429 against Fried, singled on a pitch well inside to drive in Romy Gonzalez with 2 outs in the first inning. So you got a friend in me? Well, guess what? Now I got a Romy for you. Rafael Devers hit into multiple double plays, but it was only a matter of time before he did this, Joe. Snuck a home run over the Green Monster in the 5th inning to extend the edge. Nevertheless, Fried kept the game close, finishing with 9 strikeouts. The Yankees left 6 runners on base, including in the 8th inning when the first 2 hitters reached base. New York still brags one of the best offenses on paper this season, as they always have for years. But the recent struggles are noteworthy. Joe, is the Red Sox sweeping the Yanks a cause for concern? Or
I honestly don't think so. I think you got 2 teams going in different directions here, and we'll talk about this maybe after we talk about the New York teams, about after effects of a certain thing that happened with the Red Sox shortly after that series. But for the Yankees, it's just like I'm going to talk about with the Mets in a few minutes here. It's a 162-game season. There's going to be bumps in the road. There's going to be slumps. There's going to be hot streaks. So this is just one of those where the rival team got the best of them this time, and the last time pretty much too. But to me, if I was a Yankees fan, of course you don't want to see the Red Sox win 5 out of 6. But I'm really not concerned, because I think, again, if I'm a Yankees fan, my team is going in the right direction. Their team is not.
So, Joe, what do you think about the big trade? Devers getting traded to Boston for 3 pitchers and a utility player, prospect back.
Yeah, I don't like it. I'm not a Red Sox fan, but I know how seriously people take baseball in Boston. And this is not the first time it's happened recently. Some other Mookie guy a few years ago, saying, face of the franchise, gets traded when they could have kept him. And I don't understand the full situation here. All I know is this. I found out about it the other night. I think it was Sunday night or Monday night, one of the nights. I was looking up something else on Twitter, and I see it blowing up over this whole thing. I was like, what the heck just happened? And I heard about that. And Red Sox fans were ticked off, to say the least. And they're talking about boycotting games. They're talking about, I understand now, as I've read further, it appears Devers wasn't happy there, and perhaps, he was poisoning the clubhouse. I don't know. And I don't think we're going to know the whole story, but I don't think Red Sox fans care. I don't think the only story they care about is now another face of their franchise for the second time in the last 4 or 5 years, whenever Betts left. The face of a franchise from their last World Series championship gets traded away, and unnecessarily. I remember when he got signed a couple of years ago, it was a big relief. It was like, oh, finally they made the right move. They let Betts go. Luckily, they didn't let this guy go. And they did the right thing, and they paid the money to keep him, and everybody was happy. And now 2 years later, in the middle of a 13-year contract, I think it was, all of a sudden he goes bye-bye. I don't understand that. And again, if I was a Red Sox fan, I would be extremely ticked off, and again, we don't know the whole story. I mean, that's like the Mets in 2 years trading Juan Soto to the Red Sox or something. Um, it would be ridiculous. So
I think Soto's is better than Dever. Dever's not even on the same caliber as Soto, Joe, in my opinion.
no, but I mean that's the first example I can think of, I guess. But this was the big signing by the Red Sox, and how 2 years later he's gone. I don't know. Great move for the Giants. Are you kidding me? They're playing over their heads this season anyway. They're like 2 games away from the Dodgers. Again, even though we know the Dodgers are going to explode this summer and that nobody's going to come close to them. But what a move for the Giants. I mean, they just totally increased their championship chances with that deal. And, Red Sox fans, I don't know if they're just ticked off because of the move, but they're saying that these pitchers are mediocre at best. So I know the Red Sox need pitching, but from what Red Sox fans are saying and from what I've heard, these guys are not exactly the answer at this point. Now, maybe they'll turn out to be, who knows? But I'm curious as to your reaction too, because I know on our, we have a little group chat, and the people on our network didn't seem too concerned about it, but I don't know. Red Sox fans are ticked off, and I can certainly feel for them. But what do you think about the whole thing?
I agreed with that. I mean, yeah, the guy's a great player, but we talk about it. It's Alex Cora. He's a team-oriented guy. He don't want guys that are all about themselves, even though they may be a great player. It was the same thing with Mookie Betts. He was all about him instead of the team, and that's why they let him go. And Devers was, if you saw Devers, he had like in the dugout, he had a crumb bum pissy attitude on his face and everything. And what about you heard that I don't know if you heard this, but they asked him if he wanted to play third base, and he didn't want to play third base. He just wanted to be a DH. So they said, you're gone because of that. And I wrote in the group chat, I said, managers don't care now if you're like this all-star hitter. If you only play one position on the field and you can't do both on the field, you're gone, because they like these. That's the one thing, this prospect that they got back into. He can play more than one position on the field. He's a utility guy.
Right. And
that's exactly what the Yankees did when they got rid of Gleyber Torres, because they wanted Gleyber Torres to be a utility guy on the field, and Torres wouldn't do it. So they just they let him walk instead of paying him the money. And if you actually look at what the Yankees have now, they've got a ton of utility guys like Jazz, Oswald Peraza. Yeah, Peraza's bad at hitting, but he's another example. DJ LeMahieu could play multiple positions. Dominguez can. Oswaldo Cabrera did before he got hurt, but they have guys like that now, and that's why they did it.
Right. No, that's a good point. Now, I think they also were going to ask him to play first base, and he wasn't interested in that because they lost, what's his name, Casas or whatever his name is. But so yeah, all right. And again, like I said, I certainly don't know the whole story, and you're right. I know that Cora is a big team guy. So there's 2 sides to the story. Again, Red Sox fans aren't happy, that's for sure. And like I said, I don't think they care about that, but it's a valid point.
But he just said they asked him if he would play third base in San Francisco, right? Then he does a complete 180. Now he's with San Francisco. He says, I'll play anything because he's not on Boston anymore.
Wow.
Isn't that funny?
Yeah, that's not cool. And I guess he's playing his first game with them tonight. I think I haven't looked at the starting lineups, but I think I read somewhere that tonight he's going to play his first game with the Giants.
Speaking of a prospect, Joe, I want to tell you a little story I have about my buddy Elmer Rodriguez Cruz that the Yankees got from the Red Sox in exchange for Carlos Narvaez.
Okay.
So anyway, Elmer Rodriguez Cruz, he's a right-handed pitcher from Hudson Valley, and he's the Yankees' number 6 prospect in the organization. And we have a story here. It says, Rodriguez Cruz was on point for a second consecutive outing striking out 8 while twirling 5 scoreless frames. The 21-year-old has been unscored upon in his past 2 appearances, striking out 17 and allowing 6 hits across 12 innings for High A Hudson Valley. Following his 4th performance with no earned runs this season, Rodriguez Cruz sports a 2.70 ERA, a 1.03 whip, and 74 strikeouts in 60 innings.
Wow.
And he's got a big 97 and 98 mile an hour fastball, which I love.
Yeah, that's awesome.
But they said he won't be making his debut probably until 2027.
What's his name?
Elmer Rodriguez Cruz.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Anyway, we have a heartwarming Father's Day story here from Yankees writer Brian Hoch. Paul Goldschmidt had just finished exchanging high fives and handshakes with his teammates and coaches on the Yankee Stadium infield during a recent homestand, shifting roles from Yankees first baseman to big league dad before he even reached the dugout steps. With 20 minutes of the final notes of Frank Sinatra's theme from New York, New York, Goldschmidt was leading his children, Jake and Emma, through a home clubhouse. They exchanged pleasantries with Aaron Judge, sampled a bite or two from the lounge that popped onto the outfield grass for some late afternoon fun. Goldschmidt may be in his first season wearing pinstripes, but as a 37-year-old who is about to play in his 2000 regular season game, he takes no tomorrows for granted.
Mm-hmm.
Days like these are valuable for Goldschmidt, who wants his kids to soak up as many memories as possible. And we have a quote, I remember being a young player and seeing the veteran players that would have their kids around before or after the game, Goldschmidt said. Honestly, it's crazy to think that I'm still playing and my kids are old enough to be able to enjoy it. They love it, and to be able to share it, I know this isn't going to last forever.
Mm-hmm.
So the years felt like they have flown by for Goldschmidt, who made his major league debut with the Diamondbacks in 2011, finding stardom 2 seasons into an 8-year stint in the desert. It became a career decorated with honors, trips to the All-Star game, Gold Gloves, Silver Sluggers, and a National League Most Valuable Player award in 2022 when Goldschmidt was in his 4th season with the Cardinals. So we're now a few months into the New York chapter, with Goldschmidt agreeing to a 1-year, $12.5 million contract that he hopes will lead his first opportunity to play in a World Series. In the meantime, his new workplace offers an all-access pass for the kids, just as it did last June when Jake and Emma joined their mom, Amy, on the Busch Stadium infield to toss ceremonial first pitches on Goldschmidt's bobblehead night. And we have a quote, "The best part is just to see their joy on their faces," Goldschmidt said. "We are playing a game every day, so it's a great reminder of the innocence of kids. I want those memories, too, to play catch with my son on the field. I know I'm not going to be able to do that forever, or for my daughter to come in and see the players get some gum, go on the field with us. I've got pictures with the kids on probably half the big leagues fields as we go to visiting stadiums. There are so many great memories of us just doing something very special." Beneath the surface fund, the ballpark serves as a second classroom where Goldschmidt encourages them to listen and observe. Years from now, he hopes they will reflect on those hours spent in the Bronx and elsewhere with life lessons absorbed. Quote, "When I bring my kids here, there are really 2 rules," Goldschmidt said. Number 1 is being respectful of all the players, coaches, and the staff so they get to learn those kinds of personal interactions and relationships. Number 2, they have to stay out of the way because I don't want them to be a distraction for other players or coaches. So I think they can see how hard everyone in here works and the work that it takes, even just watching on TV, the ups and downs of baseball. You see how to be a good teammate and deal with failure. The list goes on and on. Goldschmidt doesn't pretend to have it all figured out, but if there's a secret to balancing a high-profile job and his responsibilities at home, it may be this: leave the game at the stadium. Quote, "Even before I was a dad, I always had a rule that I wouldn't work on baseball at home. I'd rather stay late or show up early," Goldschmidt said. So when I go home, I'm not watching video or looking at scouting reports. That puts up a little bit of a barrier. Luckily, I have an amazing wife who does so many things at home, knowing the kids are taken care of. Goldschmidt will once more slip on a big league uniform this Father's Day, buttoning a road gray jersey at Fenway Park. He still considers that opportunity a great blessing, and that might be the most important message he'd like to see in his kids carry forward. And quote, I've tried to never take it for granted, and I don't think I have, Goldschmidt said. I remember when I was a kid, it was a dream to maybe just walk on a major league field, much less get to play on it. I think seeing them there and just remembering how special it is, it's a good reminder. Guess what, Joe? It is now that time in our show for a question of the week. Would you like to give it a try?
Let's give it a shot. Yes.
Okay, Joe, here's your question. Can you guess this MLB pitcher? He is a World Series champion and has the largest deal for an MLB pitcher. Number one, is it Yoshi Yamamoto? Doing my best Mario impression.
Yoshi. That's good.
Number two, Justin Verlander. Number three, Jacob deGrom, former Met, now Texas Ranger.
Mm-hmm.
And number four, Garrett Cole.
So what was the question? He was a World Series champ.
And he had the largest deal for an MLB pitcher.
The largest what for an MLB pitcher?
Deal, contract.
Oh, all right. Let's see. Largest deal for an MLB pitcher. Now, I heard Verlander, I heard deGrom. What were the other ones?
Garrett Cole and Yoshi Yamamoto. Now the key is he won a World Series.
He has won a World Series. So I'm going to go with Yamamoto.
You got it.
Okay.
As Yamamoto signed a 12-year deal for $325 million. It helped the Dodgers win a World Series over my New York Yankees last year in 2024.
Right. And I wasn't sure if deGrom was on that Texas team, but I didn't think that was, if anything, I would have said Verlander. But no, I mean, because the Dodgers don't pay anybody, right?
Texas, no, actually, deGrom won the World Series, but Verlander was a runner-up in 2012.
Okay.
Because the Rangers beat, but remember, the Tigers went back-to-back because they lost to the Cardinals the previous year.
That's right. Okay. No, good question.
But they lost to the Cardinals twice in this century, though, in the World Series.
True.
With Verlander, anyway. Not his fault.
Right. No, good question. Yeah, Yamamoto makes sense. Just, the Dodgers spend a little bit of money here and there.
Yep. Was there anything else you'd like to add, Joe?
Yeah, let's just go over some Mets information here. Now, it's not all good news. It's a lot more fun when we're talking about Mets winning games and stuff like that. But as we said in the beginning of the show, the first little bit of adversity for the Mets here, besides some of the injuries that they have. Now, since last Tuesday, they went 3-3, which isn't the end of the world. They won against Washington. Excuse me. But they were swept by Tampa and outscored 24-9. Now, I think my math is off here. 2-3 is what the record was, because you got Tuesday and Wednesday that they beat Washington, and then they were off Thursday, and then Friday, Saturday, Sunday losing to the Tampa Bay Rays. So outscored 24-9 in that series against Tampa. And so just a lot of things didn't go right there. They, the first two games were fairly close, but then they lost 9-0 in the third game, and just the bottom fell out there. But again, not to be concerned. The Mets are still 27-10 at home. I believe that's the best home record in all of baseball still. And their overall record is still 45-27, and still 2 games in front of the Philadelphia Phillies in first place. So even though it was a horrible weekend, still, not the worst of things. So let's talk about some hitting stats here that we got. I just kind of lost my spot here. So not too much going on as far as excellent hitting. Now, Brandon Nimmo is this week's hot Mets player. He was the hitting star of the week with 3 home runs, 5 RBIs, a 400 batting average, and a 1305 OPS for the week. So definitely him getting on track. Jeff McNeil continues to hit well. He had a home run and 3 RBIs, as did Juan Soto. Starling Marte continues to rebound and play well here. 3 RBIs this week as well. 417 batting average through the week for Marte. So that's really cool. Now, a couple of unusual things in today's MLB going on. Now, you and I always talk about it, Jamie, about the fact that starting pitchers don't go innings. Well, how about this? All right, let's not fall over in our seats on the podcast here. A very unusual feat in modern day MLB, a complete game shutout. Can you believe that? I couldn't believe it. Now, one thing I can believe that the guy who did it was David Peterson, who is just pitching lights out here all season long. Went all 9 innings, gave up 6 hits, no walks, and again, no runs, and 6 strikeouts in that game. So kudos to David Peterson for being one of the few pitchers this year that's going to end up pitching a complete game shutout. I think he only threw like maybe 105 pitches or something like that too. So very economical pitching there as well. Now, we'll kind of turn it 180 degrees the other way. We're kind of excited that Paul Blackburn coming back, adding some pitching depth to the Mets rotation, but came in relief in one of those games against Tampa. I think it was the first one, because I was listening to that game on the way home from somewhere. But how about this? An ERA this week of 108. You don't see ERAs of 108 too much. But, the good news is welcome back, Paul Blackburn. The bad news is he only pitched a third of an inning, gave up 4 hits, 4 earned runs. And at that point anyway, and still perhaps, I haven't looked, ERA of 108. Not that good. But Clay Holmes pitching well still. Going to be interesting to see how they manage his innings. Again, I think he's already surpassed his max as far as innings, and we're barely halfway through the season here. But a good performance this week, 5 innings pitched, 3 hits, only 1 earned run. Now, again, excuse me, Kodai Senga, we were talking about him being on the IL and gone for at least a month. Here's why this loss really hurts. Now, his last start, pitched great, 5 2/3 innings, only giving up 1 hit, a .35 whip in that game. On the season, 7-3 with a 1.47 ERA. Absolutely crazy. So he's going to be missed. And it's the only knock on him is he can't stay on the field. Not much going on in the relief corps. Some guys struggling, but a guy named Justin Garza who's getting more time here. Good middle relief, 3 innings pitched, did give up 4 hits in those 3 innings, but no earned runs. So good for him there. So now a tough stretch here for the Mets. Tonight, I haven't seen a score yet, but tonight, tomorrow, and Thursday in the ATL in Atlanta against the Braves, which is a place the Mets always have problems winning games. And then a weekend at Philadelphia. It's a place where every major league team except for the Phillies has problems winning MLB games. The Phillies are excellent at home, and so they're going to be geared up for this series. Again, a chance to possibly take over first place from the Mets. So that's going to be a difficult series. And then it doesn't end there. The Mets go back home, but the Braves coming back now again into Citi Field for a 4-game series Monday through Thursday of next week. So it doesn't get easier for the Mets, again, going through their first bit of adversity, but they're going to be up for these games too. I said how the Phillies are going to be ready for them and, looking to maybe take first place back, but don't count the Mets out. I'm hoping that was just a mirage over the weekend against a team. The Rays have been playing well against everybody these days, and they're a better road team than a home team, I believe. So they came in and showed who was boss against the Mets this past weekend. But hopefully the Mets can get back on track and win some of these divisional games here that they have now.
Yep. Thank you very much, Joe. So it looks like we come to the end of our show. Where can we find you, Joe, in the social media world on Tuesday, June 17th,
Tuesday,
2025?
June 17th. 2 more weeks. I think we're at the halfway point of the baseball season already. You believe that?
Yeah.
And, you know, the NBA is going to be ending. NHL is going to be ending. Pretty much all baseball now. So anyway, we could talk about that and some other things going on Twitter X. You could find me there, Joe Dell Sports.
I'm excited that the NBA is ending for the future, though, because it's the new media rights deal. It's coming back to NBC, Round Ball Rock, baby.
That's right.
Anyway, you can find me, yours truly, on Bill's Chat 1, at Bill's Mafia Chat, and also at Jamie Molloy, the unbiased journalist, at DJ Dog Gigs, theforkball.com, and stadiumrant.com, where I write about all sports. You can also follow Joe and I here on Driving to the Top Productions every Tuesday night from 8 to 9. We do our Subway Conversation chat, and then you guys will be able to catch me and Joe hopefully next week, but you'll be able to catch me tonight at 9 o'clock on Driving the Top on Open Sports Mike. And you can also, guys, follow me Wednesday night on Smoking Jeremy B's Huddle Sports Network, where he talks about NFL roundtables with Ken the Bear and Ken the Bearded Packers fan and his funny crew over there. And then it's back on Thursday night this week for our last episode of season 2 of the UFL recap. So anyways, thank you guys very much for listening. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Driving the Top Productions. Like, comment, ring the bell for notifications. For more content on Driving the Top Productions, you can visit our Facebook page, Twitch stream, X stream, Twitch stream, wherever you could get your podcast. Thank you very much for listening, and we look forward to you tuning back in with us next week, Tuesday at 8 o'clock p.m. in the Subway Conversation Chat. Get your New York sports here with Jamie and Joe Dalio on the Subway Conversation Chat, Driving to the Top Productions. Have a good night, folks.
Have a great week, everybody.